Hello and welcome to Americans Talk Australian Survivor. I'm Rachel.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Matt.
Thanks for joining us. And a quick shout out to everyone who participated in the Instagram polls over at ATA Survivor last night. It's really fun to see everyone weigh in and give their opinion on the game. So thanks for doing that and keep an eye out for more polls to come. So there will be spoilers ahead for episode 6 of Australian Survivor Titans vs. Rebels. If you haven't watched, pause here and come back later. So diving into the episode, we see at the Titans tribe, Kelly is shouting, "Surprise, the Rebels are here!" And everyone's waking up saying, "Is the whole tribe here? What's going on?" And Kelly falls into the bed with everyone and says, "I hope you have clothes on."
Yeah. She's funny.
So Kelly knows how to make an entrance, and she certainly does that at the Titans tribe. So everyone's awake and figuring out what's going on. They're asking her why she's over here, and she says, "Oh, I have... I'm in the majority alliance and I'm friends with everyone and we all vote the same." And then everyone's like, "Well, then why are you here?"
Yeah, especially Eden. Eden's like, something's not right.
Right, the radar's going off.
Right. And then we go to the Rebels camp. It's day 13. And they were saying that they could sleep last night because it was so quiet.
They're happy that Kelly's gone.
Yeah, they said she might come back, but they're enjoying it while they can. No peace and quiet. But there's still quite a bit of tension over on the Rebels tribe between Ferris and Kirby. So at the last tribal council, they were going to go head to head, and it looked very likely that one of the two would be going home that night. But instead, Kelly was elected as the saboteur to go over to the Titans tribe. So given this, now we know that Kirby and Ferris are going head to head, and they both kind of know that the other was after each other. But we don't know where the cards lie and where the other team members would have voted and who would have ended up going home. So we're kind of in this weird limbo state.
And then Kirby hears that Riri might have gotten voted off.
Yeah, Scott tells her.
Right.
And she was very upset.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely kind of an awkward middle ground for Ferris and Kirby to be in their battle.
And Kirby says Ferris needs to go. So she's very upset.
Yeah, nothing's changed with her.
Right.
But it is interesting that Scott decided to tell Kirby, but I guess he's trying to make sure, all right, I want to be part of this alliance. I'm telling you this. I think he even said, "This is difficult for me to do. I want you to trust me."
Right.
So,
though it feels a bit too late because it's after when the vote should have taken place.
That's true. And what we've seen in plenty of seasons of Survivor, the person who's almost voted off one day, the next day, no one's even thinking about voting.
correct. And this has already happened in this season.
Right.
Right. And then we go back to the Titans, and Nathan says something interesting. He's wondering if the people at the Rebels know that Kelly even went to the Titans tribe. Like he's thinking, did they vote her off? And do they think she just went home? Or do they know that she came to their tribe?
Yeah, because we've seen in past seasons where you get voted off, you're walking down the trail, and then a sign stops you and says, "Oh, you're doing something else, you're still in the game." So Nathan's wondering if that's at play.
Mm-hmm.
So he's thinking. And then meanwhile, Mark knows he wants to find that treasure chest.
And that's because Kelly brings it up. She said, or maybe someone asks her if the treasure chest is real, and she kind of doesn't quite answer it. She says, well...
It was a little awkward.
Yeah, it's very
going on there.
She didn't know what to say.
And she mentions that there's great power within. So that really sets Mark off. He knows where the power is, and he has to get to it.
And then I see him walk away, but very briskly, which seems like he's going somewhere instead of just a casual walk away from the group. It seemed like he was walking very quickly. Which
well, he's
kind
probably
of like a giveaway. I know he's trying to get away quickly, but it seems like a giveaway if you're paying attention. You're looking at him.
Well, I just think it's interesting. Once he gets to the treasure chest, we're thinking, all right, but he doesn't have a key. What's he going to do? And what does he do? He just rips the top
Pulls it out of the ground and rips it open. Yeah.
Yes, so very impressive show of strength. Who knew that was an option when we saw the treasure chest?
Yes.
So we see Viola trailing just behind Mark, and Mark pulls out the idol, and he's very happy to have found it.
And at least they didn't look at it right there. They went away to the water well.
Yeah, even that seems like such a public place. I was surprised it was there.
But what happened to the box? Did they leave it there?
Yeah.
Abandoned? And
yeah, why not? I guess no one had found it yet, so
they don't know who found it.
Right, but it's just they could just conclude, but
well, they knew someone has the idol, but they don't know who has it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the reward. I think this is really fun. Rachel, what are they going to win?
So the reward was for Toasties and coffee. So we don't have Toasties in the U.S., but based on the reward, it looks very similar to a grilled cheese. So write in and let us know if a Toastie really is a grilled cheese or if there's something more, something special, if it's a breakfast food, if it goes with coffee, but they look delicious.
And everyone was so excited. Toasties, Toasties. So, yes, we need to go over to Australia and taste some Toasties,
Right.
everybody.
Yeah, they looked great.
And they make them in that metal.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that looked fun. Oh, well, we were getting ahead of ourselves. So
For the challenge, the Titans and Rebels were paired up within each other, within their own tribe. And they were in like a door frame kind of, and they had to stand on ledges over the water and have their backs pressing against each other and just stay like that the whole time.
crazy challenge.
It looked so uncomfortable. They're so far away that it's really just like the top two vertebrae are touching, and it looks very uncomfortable to say the least. Everyone's neck is bent, shoulders are hunched over.
Yeah, Viola, her neck was like really scrunched down.
Right.
Yeah, it looks so painful.
And they have a rope for readjustments and for the intervals when you have to move down a peg, but you're not allowed to touch the rope for stabilization while the challenge is on.
It didn't look fair to me because if you were short, you had to stretch farther than if you were tall.
Yeah.
I don't think they were adjusted. You know, in other survivors we've seen where they have the weight that
Purposely.
they have to hold, you know, based on a percentage of their body weight or something.
It's individually made.
Here it looks like they just put some telephone poles in the ocean and said, now stand there next to each other.
Yeah, that wasn't totally fair.
And then another thing that I noticed during the challenge was how calm Riri was. She didn't seem to be like phased at all about doing this. You know, she's just like sitting there like meditating, not even answering Jonathan when he talked to her.
Her eyes were closed.
Yeah, and so it seemed like, it seems to me that coming up in the future when they have individual immunity and she makes it to the merge, she's going to be very a force to be reckoned with, as they say.
Yeah, great endurance and ability to drown out the surroundings and focus.
Right.
And that's vital in a lot of the upcoming challenges. So Aileen and Rihanna were doing great together. They were very stable. And a surprising pair that got out early over on the Titans was Nathan and Jaden. So two of the strongest men on the Titans couldn't quite keep it together. Nathan touched the rope. It looks like maybe accidentally, but
Right.
they were out within 2 minutes. So their biggest strength gone quickly. And it was quite the challenge. We saw the Rebels really doing quite well this challenge. They had 3 sets left versus only 1 set left on the Titans in, I think it was
Charles and Kitty.
Oh, yeah, they were doing very well. But they made it to 10 minutes. And then they had to move down
And then the
a
20
notch.
minutes.
And then they made it to 20 minutes. That is a long time.
And Charles had his foot like bent so that the outside of his foot was against the wood, and then his other foot was on top of that first foot, and it just looked incredibly uncomfortable. I bet his ankle hurt after that challenge.
Yeah.
And they even said on the Rebels tribe, like, you don't have much longer because Charles has big feet.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to hold on the ledge. So very uncomfortable. And then eventually Kitty and Charles do drop, and the Rebels get the Toasties.
Wow.
Rebels win.
And Kelly tells them to eat some Toasties for her, and they are on their way. So when we get back to the Rebels tribe, everyone's making their Toasties. They look delicious. They've got tomato, salt, and pepper. They're enjoying some coffee and sugar, and everyone's having a great time. And Ferris kind of gets this far off look in his eye, and he says that he still knows that Kirby's a threat, and he enjoys more Mediterranean-based foods at home. He doesn't really eat Toasties. He eats falafel and hummus. So he, instead of enjoying the Toasties with everyone else, goes idol hunting.
And he finds one.
Yeah, it was very...
At first he didn't. I mean, he touched it and didn't even realize he had touched it. But who was he out there with?
Raymond.
Raymond, yes. He's out there with Raymond searching. And then he actually found his second idol in 6 days.
6 episodes, yes. I don't remember what day he found his first one, but it was very impressive.
And Rachel, you posted it on Instagram.
And Ferris reposted it. So thank you, Ferris.
He didn't just repost it. He wrote something. He said, you got that right or something like that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ferris, for reposting our second Instagram and for saying something back.
Yeah, so everyone check us out on Instagram at ATA Survivor. You may see a few familiar names.
All right, so the weird thing is Ferris gets his second idol and he goes back to camp and he tells Alex right away. What was that about?
Kind of like in front of everybody so they can hear it, but not
hear.
Yeah.
What was that about? Why would he do that?
I think it's just a strategy.
Yeah, so in his soundbite later, he said that so many people don't know how to play an idol, and if you have the right strategy, you can get multiple safety votes out of it. And I'm skeptical of this. I'm not sure if he'll be able to pull it off, but his idea is that if he places doubt in the minds of others of does he have it, does he not have it, maybe they'll just play it safe and not vote for him. But I could see this definitely backfiring.
Well, sure. As they say, they want to flush the idol, so before long, they're all going to say, let's vote for him. And to see if he does have an idol.
Right. It's someone, I didn't write down who, but someone, they were saying they do doubt that he had an idol, a second idol. Maybe because it would be a second idol. They were thinking he wouldn't have it. I don't know. Or they just think he would lie about it.
Sure.
Yeah, and he does
part of the game.
A schemer. Yeah. But we do know that this strategy can backfire, as we saw last season. Viewers may remember, spoiler alert for Heroes versus Villains, we saw one of our favorite players go home with 2 idols at his disposal because he bragged about it too much. So just keep an eye out for that. You want to make sure that if you have an idol, try to play it.
Right.
All right. So then we go back to the Titans camp. And Caroline is monitoring the food, how much food Nathan is eating. And she seems
what other people eat.
She seems very, very focused on his food consumption. And she's like, I want him out.
Right. And we haven't even really heard anything about the food, about how much rice and beans they get. I was surprised to hear they got beans. I thought they were just eating rice.
Yeah, usually it is just right. Well, American, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And then lots of times they make them, fight for the rice, or they have to get it on the very first, as soon as they get to the island.
Yeah, but I think that's American. I think, once again, the Australian survivor gods are nicer. All right, so what about Kelly?
Yeah, so it's interesting to see Kelly's perspective on the Titans. She says that she came over with a mission, and maybe she'll compete it, maybe she won't, maybe she'll change her mind. And so it turns out she really is enjoying talking to the Titans, getting to know them, and she says, who knows what'll happen.
Yes.
So a very interesting take on her challenge. She's just living in the moment and seeing what happens. So then
I guess we move on to the immunity challenge.
So on to the immunity challenge. So we see another longer challenge. The goal of this challenge is to build a puzzle. So in order to get the pieces, players have to unwind a rope. They have to unlock their pieces, or unlock oars for a rowboat. They row out, they grab their pieces, they pull them up a giant tower, and then on that tower, 3 of the players are making a puzzle out of a bunch of letter blocks, and other players are on the ground holding up a panel for them to lay the boxes down. So very complicated challenge, as always, for the immunity challenges. And to start off, it's pretty neck and neck out in the water. They're rowing away.
They have that...
before we even get started, I totally forgot the most shocking thing.
Yes, that's right.
So everyone's strategizing, and the Titans have to sit out 2 players. And who raises their hand to sit out? But the saboteur, Kelly, is just going to sit out.
The one person who's going to make the game.
Yeah, and everyone in the Rebels tribe, they just couldn't believe it. And us sitting at home, we're like, what is she doing?
How is she not going to be in it?
We couldn't figure out, did she intend to sit out? Did she forget? What happened? And she even offered. It wasn't like someone said, hey, Kelly, why don't you sit out? She put her hand right up and said, you want me to sit out?
Hey, a logical thing would have been to say, I'm great at puzzles.
Yeah.
And then she could have been up on the tower and then, dropping the pieces or misspelling words or whatever.
Right. It would have been very easy to throw.
Right. Well, I was going to say about the rowboats that they had. They weren't just like a regular rowboat. Those were like a like a Zodiac boat that they put motors on. I mean, those are really heavy boats that they had to be out there rowing and then pulling them onto the beach is just a challenge in itself.
Well,
Just moving
everything was just
right.
looked like picking up those blocks, hauling the blocks up. I
Right.
mean, it's just incredible challenge.
Right.
And especially for the Titans who haven't had anything to eat.
Yeah. And then they got to lift the blocks up to the top of the tower with that pulley.
Yeah. So something interesting while watching the immunity challenge. Prior to the challenge, Caroline had kind of hinted that maybe it's time for Nathan to go home. And during the challenge, we even heard you were wondering what would have happened if Nathan would have gone home.
Yes, right. Because he had so much muscle to pull up the blocks.
Yeah.
And just, he was pulling them in when they were out rowing.
Right.
Yeah.
3 groups of them in, because who else on the team would have been able to do that?
Jaden's only other. I mean, Jaden's also, but
Right.
he needs to be there. Yeah.
Right.
I don't understand it. And I would like to shout out to Aileen because, boy, she really helped with getting the puzzle
yes.
put together.
Absolutely.
So she was very calm, and she was giving the puzzle people up on the top of the balcony directions, and did a very nice job calling. I guess she was a caller.
Right.
Sure,
Very
she beat
difficult
herself with
because
her.
that's the first time all the letters are kind of in order, or at least that you can read them all.
Right.
Because otherwise they're just in a big pile. And so it must be very difficult to come up with the words. But I guess there's only a couple of words that they use over and over, sort of.
Yeah, the phrase today, though, was either the rebels are immune or the Titans are immune. And so it's not a phrase that you would first think of necessarily. Maybe you're safe tonight or something like that. So I guess it's sort of in the realm of what's expected, but still difficult to come up with that phrase just by looking at the letters. So great job, Aileen, for figuring that one out and organizing the tribe. So right before the Titans figure it out and put together their pieces, the rebels come away with the win. They get the letters in place and they lower it down to the platform, and they are safe from tonight's tribal council.
What a feeling, huh?
And it does make you wonder what's going to happen to Kelly.
Right. She didn't even do anything and they still lost.
Yeah, she meant to sabotage and it didn't work out. So very interesting that her plan didn't work. And at home, we were wondering, is she going to go home now? Is she going to go home tomorrow?
Right.
Or since she didn't actually do her challenge of sabotaging the challenge,
Does she have to stay?
yeah, does she get to stay because she technically flipped and wanted to stay with the Titans? So all these questions are running through our minds as we head back to the Titan beach and we start to see whose names come out. So Caroline is very much set on Nathan going home. She thinks he eats way too much and he doesn't do anything else around camp. And this entire food debate is very interesting because it's definitely something to be aware of and to keep an eye on with how much food the tribe has. But we've seen it before that food becomes very problematic when you start fighting. And if someone is going to stop your food intake, you're going to get upset with them. And then everyone's going to get mad that someone's monitoring. So I think this is one of those situations where you almost have to just sit back and let it happen. Let the tribe get down to no food and kind of let everyone figure that out as it happens.
Everybody's starving and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Right.
so you hate to be the bad guy and make everyone upset with you.
So then we go to the water hole and everyone's talking. And I was very, very surprised because they told Jaden and
Winna.
to vote for Nathan. And they're like, okay, what? I was like, really?
Right. There didn't seem to be any...
Hesitation. Yeah, what was that about?
Yeah, the entire season we've seen Winna, Jaden, and Nathan hanging out together in the water.
The three of them seem inseparable.
Right. So
We just figured that meant they were in an alliance since they were together all the time, but they have no qualms about sending Nathan home. They said, sometimes it comes down to it and you have to write a friend's name down.
already?
Yeah.
Maybe at the end.
And Winna has an idol, and that doesn't even come up in conversation that he could do something to save Nathan tonight. So very surprising.
Yeah.
But good thing he didn't use his idol because the plan is to split votes on Nathan and Jaden in case there is an idol.
And then meanwhile, Mark is coming up with his own plan, right?
Right.
He decides to go ahead.
To vote out Caroline. Because
Right.
She's just being too pushy.
even though
Concerned about the food.
Yeah, even though she is part of the mafia,
Middle-aged mafia.
middle-aged mafia, He's ready to get her out. And I thought, from what everyone's going around talking to each other, that maybe that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, so Mark has Viola and Valeria on board. Viola goes over and tells Nathan, Winna, and Jaden, let's look into Caroline. I know you guys don't like her. And they say, well, we're not arguing with that one. All right, let's do Caroline. Sounds good. And we all think we're good to go.
Viola says it's a genius idea.
Yeah. And Nathan, meanwhile, is kind of looking a little worried. He's like, who am I voting for again? And he's like, what's the plan? Jaden says, well, what was that plan again? And in front of Nathan, they're saying Kelly's the plan. But then there's this whole Caroline vote. So there's a lot going on. And Jaden seems to have trouble remembering where his vote is going.
So then we're at Tribal, and Jonathan,
go on.
I was just going to say Jonathan asked Kelly if she wanted to explain what happened, and then she got up and left and really didn't have a message for them.
No, she could have said something, but she didn't. Even that she really, really liked them.
Right.
She didn't even say that.
Yeah, but good people or something.
But even before that, Eden said he's wondering if Kelly was a spy.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't address anything. She just kind of left.
Right. It just kind of flopped.
Mm-hmm. It felt like a very bad strategic move because we know that Kelly is going to be in hot water when she gets back to the Rebels tribe because she went over with a task that she didn't even attempt. And in not attempting that challenge, she was basically pledging her allegiance to the Titans in the Rebels' eyes, but she hasn't really told the Titans that. And I think that's really important. When she was leaving, she needed to say, I sat out the challenge instead of sabotaging you because I want to work with you and I'll see you at the merge. And instead she just says, oh, you guys are great. Okay, bye. And I don't feel that they understand how big of a move she made with sitting out the challenge and how intense she is on their alliance.
Right. She could have solidified her stance with one of the other tribes, but she didn't do it with either.
Yeah, so I'm worried that she's going to end up on the outs of both the Rebels and the Titans moving forward, and that's going to be a tough spot to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So Kelly goes on her way back to the Rebels, and we're excited to see how she is received next week. But back at Tribal, Jonathan's asking about plans, and we're hearing that there's a plan that everyone needs to stick to, and he asks Jaden if he feels good about the plan. He just kind of laughs and says, well, I just kind of need someone to maybe tell me what the plan is. So that was
just surprising.
Yeah, since they've gone over it a couple times that we've seen. And typically, if you don't know, you kind of whisper to your number one ally, who are we voting for again? And it seems odd to say in front of the entire tribe that you don't know what's happening.
Right. When you'd think that at camp, when you're all packing up and you have to get going, so they can take that shot of you walking out of camp with your torches like they always do, that he would have known by then, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before then, he would have had it solidified.
Yeah, I don't know. But I thought it was interesting that why Jonathan called Nathan out. So when Jaden was trying to figure out what to do, Kitty's saying, just stick to the plan, just stick to the plan. Nathan put his hand on Jaden, and Jonathan said, why'd you do that, Nathan? And I thought, why would Jonathan call him out like that?
Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of weird. It seemed like Jonathan was focusing a little bit of pressure onto Nathan to explain what he was doing.
Yeah, and he's probably just trying to say, remember what we were told? Right. So, anyway.
The last time we talked.
Yeah, so it's a tough situation to be in because their food is being monitored by Caroline. So they're hungry, they're tired, they just had Kelly talking to them all night to waking them up. So it's understandable that it's hard to keep track of all the different plans going on. But it is a bit surprising as well that we're at this stage of tribal council. And still, there's quite a bit of confusion.
And I would like to also point out that Nathan said he feels like he's at his own funeral. And that's kind of sad to hear.
Yeah, very ominous start to the vote.
Right. He must have known.
Yeah. And so it's too bad that he didn't have an idol or know about Winna's and be able to encourage him to play it for him. Because then we go and we do the vote. We count the votes, we read the votes, and Caroline only gets one single vote. There's quite a few on Jaden, and the majority fall on Nathan, sending him home this episode.
And we're like, what happened? I really thought the Caroline vote was going to happen.
They make you feel that way.
But why did Mark change his vote on what happened?
The only thing I can think of is that Mark understands that if he and his alliance are putting votes on Caroline and it doesn't go through, then Caroline's going to know that he's been targeting her, and Caroline's going to target Mark back. So maybe he didn't feel confident that everything was happening. So maybe at the last second, he said, you know what, never mind, we'll go after Caroline later, stick to the original plan for Nathan. But it felt like they were going to be able to pull off the Caroline vote. So it's very surprising that we didn't really see any conversation around that and why that didn't happen.
Is Caroline powerful enough to vote Mark out?
She just got Nathan out. So that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, okay.
She
it was
somehow made everyone vote like that.
Right.
She even said while she was casting her vote, this is one of many scalps that she's planning to take on her way to victory or something like that. So
good for her. She did it.
She's ready to fight. She's here for the game.
It has a plan.
But I have to say, I was surprised because Nathan has a lot of strength, and you still need strength right now to win challenges.
Yeah, so it feels like it could have been a very dangerous move to vote off such a strong player. And we were not huge fans of Nathan right at the beginning in the first few episodes, but I think he's grown on us and he seems to want to play the game. So it's too bad that such a strong player has been voted off so early, but great job, Caroline, on accomplishing such a crazy vote. I think most people who hear that you're going to vote off one of the stronger players, you might get some backlash, but she was able to do it. So very impressive.
Then we see the coming up previews and we don't know. Everybody has to drop their buffs, so we don't know whether it's the merge or are they splitting into two different groups, or they are going to pick different buffs. So if it's back to two groups, then Nathan is needed for whatever group he would have been on.
Sure.
But if it's all together, if this is the merge next week, the next episode, then it's good that Nathan's gone for everybody else for his strength.
Yeah. But I don't think we're at the merge yet, with only 5 people going home so far since we didn't have an elimination last episode. I feel like it's probably just a tribe swap. We typically see at least one swap before the merge.
That's true.
Well, either way, the episode was very good again. It certainly kept me on my toes. I was like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And an excellent episode.
Right. Looking forward to the next one on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us for a second week. It was a very dramatic week, and we enjoyed talking with you guys. Let us know what you think, when you think Nathan should have gone home. Was it the appropriate time to send home a major strength player, or should they have waited a little bit? Write into us on Instagram at ATA Survivor, TikTok at ATA Survivor, and send us an email at ataustraliansurvivor@gmail.com. And don't forget to give us a call at 475-4podcast and leave us a voicemail on how you think the vote should have gone tonight. Thanks, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Bye.